This is the CellTrac installation video. The CellTrac kit includes the following parts: the CellTrac module with optional 4 mounting feet, the CellTrac harness, the temperature sensor, which could be the electrolyte temperature sensor or the non-electrolyte temperature sensor, the current transducer, the communication cable, which will depend on the battery connector that is being used. For the REMA battery connector, the communication cable will also include the REMA pin adapter. So the first step is to install the CellTrac harness on the battery. Connect the black wire to the negative terminal in the battery. For batteries that are 72 volts or higher, there will be a yellow wire. Connect that to the most positive terminal of the battery. And the red wire, solid red wire, you would connect somewhere between 36 to 48 volts on the battery. For batteries less than 72 volts, they will not come with the yellow wire. They will only have the solid red wire, which will go to the most positive terminal of the battery. Once the harness is installed, you'll want to install the current sensor on the positive cable of the battery. You want to orient the current sensor so that the arrow is pointing towards the positive terminal of the battery. Once the current sensor is installed on the cable, you can connect the connector. Just press it on until it clicks and then press in the red tab to hold it in place. There are 2 possible temperature sensors that may come with CellTrac. The first one measures the temperature of the battery and the level of the water electrolyte. In this picture, it is the temperature sensor on the left. The other option only measures the temperature of the battery but does not get inserted into the cell and does not measure the electrolyte level. In this photo, it is the unit on the right. If your CellTrac came with an electrolyte temperature sensor, you will need to drill a hole in one of the center cells of the battery, 1/2 inch in diameter, and then insert the temperature sensor into the hole until it mounts flush with the top of the cell. If your CellTrac came with a temperature sensor that does not go inside the cell, you will want to locate a center cell and place it in between the cells on the battery. Once the temperature sensor is installed, you can connect it to the mating connector on the CellTrac harness. The next step is to install the communication cable in the battery connector. I've already opened up this connector to show you the inside. This is the Euro connector. Be careful that there is not battery voltage live on these 2 leads. If the battery cables cannot be disconnected from the battery during this process, then remove one cable from this connector and set it aside so you don't have risk of shock. There are 4 wires that get installed inside this connector. You can see from above that 2 of these wires are closer together and 2 of them are farther apart. The closer together wires will have a red and a black wire. The red wire will go on the side of the positive cable, and the black wire will go on the side of the negative battery cable. Of the 2 wires that are farther apart, the white wire will go on the side of the positive cable, and the green wire will go on the side of the negative cable. This diagram explains the wiring for the Euro communication cable. This is the communication cable for the REMA connector. It is slightly different than the Euro connector because all 4 pins are exactly the same size. You will need to place the red and the black wire inside of the barrel adapter before inserting into the connector, like so. You'll place them inside the barrel adapter and then stick the barrel adapter inside the connector. This diagram explains the wiring for the REMA battery connector. So this is the battery connector put back together with the communication cable installed. Once you've done that, we recommend applying zip ties to hold the communication cable to the battery cable. Once the communication cable has been installed, you can connect it to the mating connector on the CellTrac harness. You may also want to zip tie the cable to the battery cable to hold it in place. Once all harnesses and components are installed, the CellTrac can now be connected to the harness to power it up. For installing on forklifts, you can mount the CellTrac directly to the top of the battery. Simply plug in the connector into the CellTrac until it clicks, and then you should see the lights on the CellTrac begin to light up. The communication light will blink quickly if it cannot find the Asset Pro server, and it will blink slowly, approximately once every 2 seconds, if it finds the Asset Pro server. When you first plug in CellTrac to the harness, make sure that the vehicle is idle, that there is no current going into or out of the battery. For GSE applications, you want to mount the CellTrac outside of the battery compartment so that it can receive the Wi-Fi signal. The CellTrac comes with optional mounting feet. You can insert them into the side of the unit and then place it somewhere on the vehicle where it will not be damaged by operators, but will have access to open air for the Wi-Fi signal. You also need to run the CellTrac harness out to where the CellTrac is at before powering it up.